Welcome back, everyone, to the channel. In today's deep dive, we're zeroing in number one, or otherwise known as Luther Hargreeves, from the Umbrella Academy, and how his character intricately portrays the handling of trauma and the complex coping mechanisms that comes with it. Luther's journey gives us a good window of the long-term effects of childhood trauma and the hard path that it takes to heal. So far, I just actually finished season 3, and the guy still has a long way to go. They all do. So let's start unpacking the psyche of Luther and try to understand what his story tells us about trauma and resilience. Luther's childhood starts under the cold calculating hand of Sir Reginald Hargreeves, as we all know. It was anything but nurturing. He was disappointed a lot, and of course he was the appointed leader of all the seven kids. One thing that the show doesn't do a good job of so far is tell us how he handles Ben's death. They didn't do a good job at showing how that aspect has changed any of the kids, or at least I haven't seen it. Anyway, unlike his other siblings, each have their own very destructive ways to cope, but Luther's primary coping mechanism is just blind obedience and physical conditioning, strength training, everything. So he essentially just took his trauma and became a soldier that's always following orders, even to his own detriment, right? His other siblings, some of them, like Klaus, his way of coping is with substance abuse, and I think Klaus is like the funniest character in the show. It's sad, but without Klaus, I don't think the show would be what it is. And I'm just putting that out there right now to Klaus's actor. So the next thing that Luther does is he isolates himself. He really does. After a mission went bad, Luther was sent to the moon by his dad. Basically, that was the most ultimate isolation, right? I think that's how the show opens. It opens with him on the moon, the man on the moon, and he's just physically isolated from the world, which reflects his emotional state, right? He's just cut off, he's alone. And that also is a coping mechanism or a coping strategy that many can relate to. The idea that we distance ourselves enough. If we distance ourselves enough from the source of the pain, it just diminishes. But Luther finds later that isolation only amplifies his inner turmoil, and that doesn't always work out well, because you get triggered every now and then if you come across that source of pain, or if something happens to bring it up. And of course, as a big half ape, Luther has a huge simmering anger undercurrent through his entire being that he has to keep in check, like at all times. Of course, because he's such a huge hulking mass, it's just a symbol of his strength and the representation of his suppressed rage, which he controls very well, but it's such a deep-seated issue stemming from his childhood trauma. You can see it physically on him. I think the term is a great metaphor, but it's just a powerful reminder of the importance of confronting rather than containing our anger. And Luther's trauma isn't just a backstory, it's a constant companion that shapes his decisions and relationships. His inability to form romantic connections is a struggle to his self-worth and relentless quest, to have approval from his dad. And the long-term effects of that is just a lot of unresolved issues, not just for him, but for his siblings as well. I don't think he forms a romantic relationship until like season 2, one of the other episodes there, when he decided he was fed up with everything and he's just not going to deal with it. Well, spoiler alert, he also found out that his mission on the moon was kind of fruitless. And that's when he was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go party. I'm going to go have fun. And literally he said, this is what I do now. Luther does confront his past, but his journey is pretty messy. It has a lot of setbacks and revelations, as with most of the kids. And he goes through what he goes through. And he shares a lot of that traumatic upbringing. Only after then he starts to address his pain, and I think he does that a lot with Klaus. Klaus is like the glue that tries to keep everyone together. Actually, I think number 5 does a pretty good job at like trying to keep people together and trying to save the world as well. But when we get to him, we'll discuss that. But number 1, he's just the leader, and he takes the brunt of it all.